Okay, thank you for joining us today. In this webinar, we are going to experience, explore, and exchange ideas about routines in the remote learning context. And during this session, we are going to focus in on two routines in particular, the 3 Reads instructional routine and the React microroutine. The 3 Reads instructional routine we are using comes from Grace Kalamanik and Amy Lucenta's work on fostering math practices, and it specifically looks at mathematical texts. And we are prioritizing routines and tasks that we believe engage students in building their funds of knowledge and cognitive schemas. And so these routines we value in the classroom setting, but we also believe that in the remote setting they will be very useful. And so we've adapted these two to fit into a remote learning context. We also wanted this webinar to feel like a safe space for all of us to experience the routines, but also get a better understanding of the experiences with technology apps and feel a little bit more comfortable using them. And so the two that we are using today are Zoom and Pear Deck. So please make sure that you have the Zoom window open and then also the Pear Deck window open. But first, we wanted to celebrate our teachers. So Teacher Appreciation Week is this week. Thank you so much for everything that you guys are doing. Check out the reaction feature in Zoom. Give yourself some applause and a thumbs up. Go ahead and find the reaction button. And yes, yes, claps all around, thumbs up. Yes. You guys are doing such an amazing job. Thank you. Awesome. So a lot of you were able to find the reaction feature as well, but if you have any questions about where that is, you can also ask Wendy. But thank you so much for everything that you're doing to educate and support young people. We know this is like unprecedented times and territory that we're in. So the flexibility, your willingness to try new things and just stay positive as best as possible, even through all this, is just really inspiring. So thank you. If you haven't seen these deals and freebies, they're linked, so you can go ahead and check that out after the webinar also. So there's some good stuff. I think I saw Pinkberry, if you guys like Froyo. Quick introductions. My name is Jennifer Kim. I'm with New Visions for Public Schools, and I am in the Curriculum and Instruction Unit, focusing on math, curriculum, and professional learning, and I'm joined with Wendy.
Hi, everyone. This is Wendy Thomas-Williams joining you guys. I will be moderating today and hopefully answering your questions to the best of my ability. If you have any technical questions, feel free to shoot those directly to me in the chat, and I'll do what I can to help support you through this. And other general questions you can shoot to everyone, so that if there's an issue that you think everybody might need or want to hear about, we'll address that as well. Happy to have you guys here.
Yes. All right, so we're gonna get zooming, and we're gonna start with the poll. So the little icon is for Zoom. So in the Zoom window, Wendy's gonna share a poll, and we'd love to get a sense of where folks are in their experience with Zoom as well as Pear Deck. So I'm going to end the poll. I think there is a mix of folks in this room with the experiences for Zoom as well as experiences on Pear Deck. So you can kind of see. And what we're going to do actually, so a lot of folks are very familiar with using Google Slides, although that may be news to some folks. Using the Pear Deck add-on is the new thing. And so what we're gonna do is just explore Pear Deck throughout the session, but basically it's taking slides and creating an add-on. So if you have questions about that, you can feel free to contact us and we'll share information about that. Okay. So, quick participation norms for today. When you're not speaking, if you can select mute so that it limits the feedback noise, and where possible, use videos so that we are able to see your lovely faces, but also it helps to create a community. and supports collaboration. And then chat everyone for general questions, but if you experience technical difficulties, like Wendy said, go ahead and chat her privately. I know some of you had different levels of experience with the whiteboard and annotation feature on Zoom, as well as share screen. We're gonna have some opportunities to do that today. And then also at the same time, learn about Pear Deck. These are secondary things compared to what we're gonna be doing with our routines. And if you're interested, there is a feedback button. So if you click on participants, you can provide feedback by clicking on one of those icons as we go throughout the day. So our agenda, we're in the welcome and introductions and session norms. We are going to go through an experience of the routine, and you'll have time to explore remote learning resources and exchange ideas for your classroom, and then we'll close with Q&A. In the agenda, what we're going to do in Zoom, so now you're in the Zoom window, annotate the screen by clicking on the checkmark stamp and putting it next to the part of the agenda that you're most excited about. So if you want to know where that is, if you scroll to the top, there should be a bar or the bottom. And what you want to do is click on the pencil that says annotate, and then you're going to click stamp, and you're going to mark on the agenda where you are most excited about exploring today. So it looks like a lot of folks are excited about the experience and the exploring and the exchanging of ideas. So that's great. And it's about equal. So we're gonna just go on ahead into those sections. Okay, so we are moving into the remote resources, and great. A quick update on the purpose of our remote resources. It's to provide a bank of resources for teachers to use right now to make sense of the remote learning context. The instructional model for the remote learning resources are intended to introduce a task set, support and elicit student thinking, and also collect and evaluate work. And so there are 3 modes that we understand are existing in our communities. So in some communities, we have high take capacity and access, and in others, we have modest and low. So we are taking into consideration those things and what it could look like when we are introducing tasks and then supporting and eliciting student thinking and collecting and evaluating work. In our session today, we're going to be focusing on the introduction through the routines, but then also think about how we might support and elicit student thinking. So in this session, we are in the modest to high tech range, but all of the resources are adaptable and can be changed for your specific community's context. The learning plan template is intended to structure a week's worth of time, not a day's worth of time. And so when we think about the launch, we're thinking about one live session that we can have with students. So just keeping that in mind. So today in the launch, we are looking at the experience through the 3 reads and the React microroutine. The exploration and work time can be used in a synchronous or asynchronous way and can be adapted for low, modest, and high-tech contexts. Check-in and wrap up also, and then the overview of this whole learning plan. You'll have a chance to explore that and exchange ideas in the breakout. So we wanted to zoom in on the launch and talk about why we're thinking about routines in this way. So a routine is different from a learning strategy, which is focused in on individual approaches. But the instruction routine is a structure that thinks about time and peer interactions with the purpose of learning content, but also developing mathematical thinking and reasoning. So some of you are familiar with these slides if you've attended any of our workshops, but we value instruction routines because they take lots of different instructional practices out there, piece it together in a very structured way. Grace Kellermanic and Amy Lucenta like to call this a container. So in the container, we can insert lots of different tasks. But when we do it in a repeated way, students develop habits of mind. So what's a microroutine? A microroutine is a subset of an instructional routine. It's a shorter structure and it allows for student-to-student discourse and interaction. They tend to be 6 minutes or less, three steps or less, and involve some kind of pair or group work. And they can also be used synchronously or asynchronously. The reason why we are prioritizing these routines, again, is because as Doretta Hammond says, we want to be able to build instructional practices around opportunities to process information that makes learning sticky. And then students become able to carry more of the cognitive load that leads to doing more rigorous work. So we want to build independent learners, and through these routines, it supports that. And we wanted to see what that could look like in a remote setting. So here's our experience. So we're gonna go into 3 reads and see what it could look like and feel like in the remote setting. So you're gonna take on the role of a learner and just participate in the routine. I am gonna ask that you're gonna be in your Pear Deck screen. So if you're in the Zoom screen, go to the Pear Deck screen because there's gonna be some interactivity features there. Okay. So 3 reads is an instructional routine that we're going to use to develop reading like a mathematician. Our goal is going to be learn to read like a mathematician, paying attention to quantities in the problem statement. We're going to read the problem 3 times. In the first read, you're going to think about what is the problem about, and you're only going to hear it. You're not going to see it. In the second read, you're going to think about what is this question? What is the problem asking? And in the third read, you're going to think about what information is important. Okay, so this is the first read. So you're thinking about what is the problem about as you listen. A ball is rolled into the air from the edge of a 100-foot high cliff so that it eventually lands on the ground. A scientist records the height of the ball off the ground at different times. After how many seconds does the ball hit the ground? In your Pear Deck, you should be able to type in an answer to that question. Awesome. So we have some trends in the responses. Some of you are saying that it's about the position of a ball, the height of a ball from the ground, a ball in the air. Okay. All right, so we're going to be going into the second read. Okay. And during this read, you're going to think about what's the question. Okay. A ball is rolled into the air from the edge of a 100-foot high cliff so that it eventually lands on the ground. A scientist records the height of the ball off the ground at different times. After how many seconds does the ball hit the ground? So this time, we're going to try something. We're going to send you into breakout rooms. And in a minute, you're going to be able to talk with 1 or 2 people to state the question in your own words. And as you're doing that, think about what quantity am I trying to find? And remember, quantities are things we can count. So it's the number of something or the measurement of something. Okay, so Wendy's going to send you off to breakout rooms, and then you'll be back in a minute. So in your Pear Deck, go ahead and write a response to what is the question, stating the question in your own words, and what quantity am I trying to find, if that's helpful. So based on your conversation, maybe your question statement changed, but it might not have. So go ahead and type that. And here are some of the responses that are coming in about how long in seconds was the ball in the air. The question is to find how many seconds does the ball hit the ground. What is X when Y equals 0 is one of the other ways of thinking about this. Finding time. in number of seconds when ball is on the ground, h equals 0. How long does the ball take to fall? So a lot about it, a lot of really good restating of the question. That's awesome. Okay, so that was with our second read. Now we're gonna go into our third read. And in this read, we're gonna think about what's the important information. So ask yourself, what's the important information? And when you do that, think about what are the important quantities, and you might think about the number of something or the measure of something. Okay, so this is the third read. A ball is rolled into the air from the edge of a 100-foot high cliff so that it eventually lands on the ground. A scientist records the height of the ball off the ground at different times. After how many seconds does the ball hit the ground? So go ahead and type your response in Pear Deck. So it's great seeing some units of measure for things that are countable, the number of. It's great. I love seeing how specific some of these responses are. Okay. A lot of you are noting the initial height of the cliff. So the 100 feet is an important quantity. And also 0 feet as a quantity from the ground. Okay. Great. So we are gonna spend just a quick moment reflecting on our learning. So select one of the 3 prompts. You don't have to do all 3, just one of them. And type your response in Pear Deck. When interpreting a word problem, I learned to ask myself, or the next time I read a word problem, I will pay attention to blank because, or when looking for important information, I have learned to ask myself. So go ahead and type your response to one of those prompts. Thank you for sharing. All right, so that's 3 reads. And then we're gonna also do a react. So react is a micro routine for remote and has been adapted for remote learning. And so the process here we're gonna go through is 30 seconds, you're gonna react to an image. So you're gonna think about 3 words that come to mind. And this is gonna be within the Zoom context. And then you'll have a minute to share your reaction in the live chat and then read through what others have written. Just be ready to explain your reaction. Sound good? Okay. So 30 seconds, you're thinking about 3 words that come to mind when you look at this visual. Okay, so in the chat, to everyone, go ahead and type your 3 words, and then after you've typed them, you can also read what everyone else is posting. Go ahead and read some of the other responses. These are some great reactions. Thank you. Great. And that was the micro routine. So in the chat, type reaction to the react micro routine. Great. So some of you got thinking about topic. It's engaging and short. It's simple. It's very quick. It's accessible. Awesome. Okay, and there are multiple entry points, and there's no right or wrong answer, so thank you. Yes, and it leads into the discussion for the content. So that is a little bit about the 2 routines that are in the resource. So we are ending the experience. Thank you so much for the participation. So a little bit about where these came from. So in the functions represented in different ways resource that was put out, 3 reads and react are part of the launch. The 3 reads is intended to support a task that allows for practice using 3 reads. But again, as it was stated earlier, it's possible to create additional slides through Pear Deck or Desmos or some other audio allowable resource, can listen to the audio while they type in their responses. So there is practice connected to this. React also is there, and the reason why that image was used was because in Desmos there's a function carnival activity, and there is one where there is a person being shot out of a cannon, and so being able to graph their distance from the ground or from the cannon to what it would look like represented as a graph is there. And so we've prioritized these two for that reason. And so in the task, students have an opportunity to go back and think about what they did in the launch in order to support them in the practice. And 3 reads and React can be used in any lesson launch for the week, because they're easy to swap out the mathematical task or the image or the statement based on your goals for the week.